After sailing up from the Bahamas, we spent some time in Charleston, South Carolina. We anchored in the South Channel, which is not our top recommendation, but it's definitely kind of away from everybody else. There's also a couple other anchorages to try out. The one we were at was a little bumpy with the boats going by, but we really enjoyed Charleston. A couple of our favorite restaurants are there: barbecue, steak, all good stuff. Of course, Charleston has a lot of history, parks to visit, but it's time for us to head on north and get going towards Cape Lookout, North Carolina. I thought I'd talk a little bit about how we prep for a passage. We use the Predict Wind app, and it gives us plenty of tools to plan our passages. Basically, you just put in a course that you're going to sail. You can put it in by GPS coordinates, or you can just use their drag and drop pins, and you put that course in, and you put in the time that you want to start and the spacing between departures, because you're going to be testing this over a period of 4 different trips. It could be 4 different days, it could be 12 hours apart, 8 hours apart, whatever you need. And you at first get a map of the projected course, and it shows a different little boat for each course. And then you also get the tables, which we find to be much more informative. We're looking at max wind speed, min wind speed, and time upwind, and obviously anytime we going offshore, we're looking at the swell and the waves that are involved, because that's what kind of determines the comfort many times. And this one gives you 4 of the major different forecasts, and you can use their validation table to figure out which one is most accurate for the area that you're in. We find that the GFS and the Euro model are most accurate here on the east coast of the United States. And obviously, the closer you get to your departure, the more the weather models will converge on what is probably actually going to happen. We've found that if you look out more than about 3 days, it's about a 50-50 chance you're going to get the weather that's predicted. You can animate the map and show the different departure and arrivals of the different boats. This is about a day-and-a-half trip, so you can see the boats are paced about 24 hours apart. If 24 hours apart is not what you're looking for, you can space them more closely, and this is just a graphical representation. You can also look at, once you've narrowed in on a specific departure time, then you just switch to weather routing, and you can then get a more detailed look at that individual day and what it's going to look like for your actual departure time. We'll usually run the departure planning usually 5 to 7 days out, and then once we get within about 2 days, we'll usually narrow in on a departure day. We'll start running the actual, instead of the departure plan, the actual voyage plan. And you can see that it has the different charts. We found the graph for the wind speed obviously is important, but the Cape forecast is also important. That gives you potential energy that's in the atmosphere, and kind of on the East Coast is a big deal because of thunderstorms. It doesn't tell you whether you're going to get a thunderstorm, but it does tell you how severe they'll be if they are in your area. And it gives you more detail on the summary. It gives you all the forecasts, not just 4. It gives you all 6, and the all the detail for wind and direction and waves. And some of the stuff at the bottom is for the Pro, that we don't have the Pro subscription. And then you can also get the atmosphere data. Like I said, this is basically potential energy in the atmosphere, and it really gives you a good idea if you're going to have some severe storms in the area. We have found we like to see this as low as possible. When it gets up In the 2000s and 3000s, it's pretty high likelihood. And then you actually get detailed information on whatever forecast is the most valid for your area. Course, the actual wind direction, how it's going to hit your boat, and some predictions on speed over ground to help you kind of plan the timing of your passage. We find it to be pretty accurate. Obviously, the wind is what you get out there, and you can always flip it back to the kind of the overall map view to get a feeling of what it looks like graphically, and you can see all the different forecasts are represented. You just can toggle between the different forecasts and pick the one that most represents or most valid in your area, which depends on where you're at. Now that we have our forecast in hand and we know what kind of conditions we're going to face, then we can go ahead and cast off the lines and head from Charleston up to Cape Lookout, North Carolina. So we're leaving Charleston, and this lovely storm popped up here. Not something to be trifled with. Coast Guard put out a warning, said winds over 30 knots, so we might have to turn up into it here. Sails are down, engines are on. So on our journey from the Bahamas up to the Chesapeake, we've been in Cape Lookout for a couple days. Our son and his family came and joined us for a couple of nights. And it's really a beautiful place. I mean, it's a large anchorage. You can see there's quite a few people out and about for the Memorial Day weekend. It's Saturday today, so, and the weather's nice. Yesterday it was pretty nasty. A lot of thunderstorms. Yeah, there's a nice beach over there. A lot of shells on that beach. But this is really a great place to stop if you're going north or south up the East Coast. It's protected. There's really no services here. So if you need fuel or water or food, not a lot of that. But we're in about 20 feet of water here. You can see there's quite a few boats anchored and room for more, although it is shallow off to our port side here. But you can see the lighthouse over there, and then going back up the channel there, you can go back to Harkin Island, about 6 miles away by dinghy. And that is Cape Lookout Lighthouse, still in operation. So we are leaving Beaufort, North Carolina. We were anchored on the other side of that point over there. That was Cape Lookout. You can barely see the lighthouse over there. Barely see it. It was a little crazy. We went into Moorhead to the fuel dock there, and we got some fuel. Right now we're motoring into a light chop. Got about 6 or 7 knots of wind right on our nose. So we're going to motor into this, and the wind's supposed to go down to almost nothing tonight. We're looking forward to a calm roundabout the Cape Hatteras. It's a little crazy getting out of Moorhead. Lots of boaters coming in. Today is Memorial Day, and they were tossing us around, but we made it. about 36-hour run to the mouth of the Chesapeake. We should get there around daybreak on Wednesday. It is Monday, about 7 p.m. right now. We pulled down the predict wind, and the wind looks like it's going to be pretty light as we get up around the Cape, and then tomorrow night we might hopefully get some wind we can sail with. We do like to sail when we can. And you can see by the tables here that, you know, there's a variety of opinions here on what exactly the wind's going to do. Usually we found the ECMWF and the GFS to be most accurate this part of the East Coast this time of year. So we'll see how it goes. We're about 15 hours into our passage from Cape Lookout to the Chesapeake, and we're going around Cape Hatteras right now. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and you can see it's very calm. There's some other boats out here with us and some ships. This is a much more pleasant rounding of the Cape than when we came down in November, when we had 20 plus knots and breaking seas all around us. We're supposed to get a little bit more wind later on today from a sailable direction, so hopefully we can get the sails up. A little bit later, we're scheduled to arrive in the Chesapeake in about 21 hours. Just a nice pretty day out here. If we had a little bit more wind, we could sail, and it'd really be nice. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon. Second day of sailing. Of course, we just had a fishing boat go right across our bow and give us some wake. And we've got our parasailer up and flying, doing about 5.5 knots, about 10 knots of wind. We should be getting a little bit more wind, just hopefully it's the right direction. We continue to use the parasailer. If it gets too far up on the beam, then we'll have to pull the parasailer down and do something else. So the wind angles have changed on us. It's right before sundown. Still a second day of sailing up to Annapolis from Beaufort, North Carolina. We get just the Genoa up because the wind's still behind us. And we've also got the Navy over here. It's kind of unusual. You see an aircraft carrier out kind of by itself. There does look like there's one other boat over here kind of running interference, but usually aircraft carrier goes out with a whole bunch of other ships. About 50 miles outside of Norfolk, watching the sunset. Beautiful sunset this evening. It's Virginia Beach. We're coming up through the harbor. And we've got lots of coming into Norfolk Harbor, lots of boats to manage our way around. The ship channel is right over there. And we have some vessels to negotiate. There's a Navy vessel up there. And of course, the Navy vessels don't show AIS. Just a real busy harbor. Definitely come through here in daylight hours. Nighttime would not be good. So we arrived about 7 a.m. to Annapolis Harbor. We're on a city mooring. Fair number of boats here. Mostly had a motor ride up to Annapolis. Our wind kind of died during the evening. We had a little bit of wind from the wrong direction for a while. And right in front of us is the Naval Academy. We already heard Reveille at 8 o'clock this morning. And right over there is the dinghy dock, so we're convenient to everything. We got tied up in time for some thunderstorms to move through this afternoon. So we have the beginning of the Annapolis to Bermuda race today, I guess. So we have a parade of the contestants and other well-wishers. Through the anchorage here in Annapolis. Looks like there's a few boats out there coming in. And the dog on the boat next to us didn't like the fireworks they set off to start it. Plenty of pomp and circumstance here in Annapolis for the Annapolis to Bermuda race. We have one of the tall ships leading the parade for the race. Not sure if that's an original vessel or if it's a replica or something that's been rebuilt. I have no idea, but it's a beautiful old boat. Boy, lots of work to keep that up.